What is your reaction? The NBA players have decided to keep playing.
I'm happy, but I'm not surprised either. We have to take into account the situation that they were staring at. They came into the bubble because it was necessary for them to finish those 8 regular season games for the regional contracts. They were participating in the playoffs because there's over $1 billion at stake in terms of the collective bargaining agreement that they had signed. And one could have easily argued that theoretically, technically, they were in violation of the collective bargaining agreement that they had agreed to with the owners. Then you got to take into account the fact that the owners paid $200 million for them to be at this bubble. The players love the game. They love playing the game. We understand that, but they're very adroit and smart businessmen. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know what decisions need to be made once the emotions and the dust settles. That emotion won't dissipate for a very long time. Obviously, if you are black, the profound times that we are living in, it has a profound effect on you, your psyche, and what have you. Black men being shot, handcuffed, hands behind their back, or being shot in the back. In the case of George Floyd, he wasn't shot. He had his neck kneeled upon 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The last 2.5 minutes, he was non-responsive. But the Walter Scotts of the world getting shot in the back, the Jacob Blakes getting shot in the back, the Eric Garners getting choked to death, things of that nature. You know, you have a lot of black men that are incredibly, incredibly fearful of the times that we're living in. We get pulled over by police. We see those sirens. We know it spells trouble. Once upon a time, regardless of racism and things of that nature existing, what you were worried about was a ticket. Now you find yourself worried about whether or not you're going to be shot because of the times that we're living in. So the players know it because they're hearing it from their communities, their family and friends and loved ones. And obviously they feel compelled to give a voice to the voiceless in some capacity. That's what they're doing here. And along the way of making sure they honor their collective bargaining agreement, they also recognize the fact that their voices will be heard and it will resound profoundly if indeed they're playing and they have microphones and cameras stuck into their faces, as opposed to them being away and at home and operating through that fashion and that avenue.
Stephen A. with me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Steve, as we speak, the NBA's Board of Governors are also meeting, and I asked Woj what's the most important thing that could come from there, and he said the most important thing, they now know the players are going to play. So, to the best of your understanding, what is it the players would like to see? What is it they feel they're not getting from the owners, from the NBA office, or from anyone else? I understand the world at large, but from the people that they are directly connected to, what is it that you think could be done that isn't being done right now by the league and by the ownership?
Increased participation to help the players themselves facilitate the change with our social justice system. That's really where it comes down to. When we see these players complain about these things, you obviously want something done with the cops. The Milwaukee Bucks were on the phone with the Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin because they felt not much was getting done. When you hear people bring up Breonna Taylor out of Louisville, you're waiting for the Attorney General in Kentucky to address that situation. And that Attorney General we saw was black, and he spoke at the Republican National Convention the other night. You're waiting for him to act. Things of that nature. And so they know that the owners have profound power, that they've contributed in some way, shape, or form to the political apparatus that exists within our country, that they know politicians, they know difference makers and decision makers and game changers. And you would like them to step up their intensity and their fervor in an effort to get the things that matter to you most addressed. That would be the immediate answer to that question. They'd like to see arrests. They'd like to see indictments. They'd like to see quick action as opposed to what a lot of people in our society say, seeing the process unfold and taking its time. Because when you're black, you don't believe the system works for you. You believe inevitably the system will work against you. So the more time that goes by before action is taken, the more time is given to the alleged perpetrators to come up with some kind of cover story, cockamamie circumstances and situations that would ultimately derail the realms of justice. This is how the players think. This is how black people think in America. It's why you heard Troy Vincent, the executive VP for the NFL, literally crying, and you saw Keyshawn Johnson literally crying on the air because times have changed, but indeed times still remain the same. They know it, and the justice system is not to be trusted, and we know it's going to be white individuals in position of power, led by a younger generation of white people to assist black people in an effort to acquire justice, fair and equitable treatment under our very own justice system.
Stephen A. Smith with me. So, Steve, let me just ask you in a different light. Yesterday was an unbelievable day. You had the NBA, the WNBA, 3 Major League Baseball games, now multiple NFL teams not practicing. Naomi Osaka didn't play a tennis match yesterday, the MLS, and I'm sure there are others I'm leaving out. In your mind, what did yesterday mean?
What yesterday means is that, black folks, the modern day black athlete is not taking it anymore. And if they have to emulate folks in the 60s, if it comes to that, so be it. It's not about the money that they make. They know that they're making wealth beyond their imagination, but they still wake up every day black. They still drive through the streets and walk the streets black. They still come to their place of business black. You think about the things that athletes hear sometimes from cynics and critics. Think about fans espousing their vitriol in an athlete's direction. Of course, they're just rooting for somebody else. But think about the things that they have heard over the years. Remember, LeBron James might be worth $1 billion for all we know. He bought a $20 million mansion in Brentwood, California. And before he even had an opportunity to pass gas in the damn place, they sprayed racial epithets on his gate. That's LeBron James. And if that can happen to somebody like him, which is what he said at the time, imagine what's happening to black people across America. And so I think that by standing up, you're just making the argument, we're not taking this anymore. You've been doing this to us long enough. And now we're going to make a concerted effort to make you feel our pain in some way, shape, form, or fashion so we can incentivize you to stop exacting this kind of injustice against us.